What's better than making rock candy? Making chocolate-infused rock candy that is 100% edible and can be used as a Christmas ornament that can entice even the most critical of holiday time gnomes. In this video, we will also show you how to make custom-shaped Borax Christmas tree ornaments, and more importantly, we will be discussing the science of solutions and how all of these things work. Because if you can't easily explain what the difference between a mixture and a solution is, then you definitely want to stick around for the science discussion at the end of the video. So we have sugar candy, Christmas tree ornaments, and science, so let's get started. We're going to start our video off today by making the sugar rock candy that has a chocolate center without using any wooden sticks or strings like you see in other internet recipes. A great thing about this experiment is you can do it with multiple age groups. You can do this with a young child just to get them involved in science, and your older learners can do the exact same experiment, and at the end of the demonstration you can dive deeper into science topics like we'll do at the end of the video today. You don't need that many materials for this demonstration. Some containers or glass jars, some sugar, some string, some pipe cleaners, and some borax. The borax will be for our ornament making later on in the video. You will also need the secret ingredient for this experiment that helps us create that chocolatey center, and that secret ingredient is Pocky Sticks. You can find Pocky Sticks at your local supermarket, or you can buy them on Amazon. What's fun about these is they come in a variety of different flavors, so it's fun to mix and match and to see how the different flavors can affect the overall taste of your rock candy. And the amount of sugar, well, you're probably going to need a lot. Each of the jars we used held about 1.5 cups of water, and once we measured the total amount of water we were going to use, we poured it all into a pot on the stovetop. The next step is to add your sugar, and for every 1 cup of water you use, you will need to dissolve 3 cups of sugar in it. Once your sugar is into the water, turn up the heat and get it to a boil. At room temperature, normally 1 cup of water wouldn't be able to dissolve 3 cups of sugar, but therein lies the science we will get into a little bit later in the video. And speaking of later in the video, be sure and save some additional sugar for a separate plate to help with our chocolate steps. While your water and sugar are coming to a boil and you're stirring the solution, it is now a good time to put whatever food coloring or flavoring extract you want to put in your candy. Once your newly formed solution has been boiling for a few minutes and all the sugar has been dissolved, turn off the heat and then carefully transfer your new supersaturated solution into the individual jars or containers that you plan on using. The next step requires a little bit of an open flame. We have to warm up the chocolate on the Pocky Sticks just a little bit until it begins to melt. The reason people use strings or sticks is because the sugar needs a starter site to begin crystal growth, and a string or stick makes it easy. For us, we're going to be using these chocolate Pocky Sticks, but we need some sugar crystals on the stick to start the growth. By lightly melting the chocolate, the sugar easily sticks to it and makes a perfect site to create our sugar rock crystals. Now with your Pocky Stick primed, it is time to put them in your sugar solution. You can hang the Pocky Sticks in a solution any way you'd like. We taped them to chopsticks and also used pipe cleaners because we had a bunch hanging around for the next borax experiment. All that matters is that you've hung them in such a way that the sides of the stick do not touch the bottom of the container or the sides of the jar you're using. Once you have your sticks suspended in the solution, set them aside in a cool, dark place, and you're going to let them sit for several days at this point. Basically, the longer you let them sit, the bigger in theory your sugar rock crystals should be. With those set to the side, now's a good time to move on and start making our custom-shaped Christmas tree ornaments made out of borax crystals. This is just as easy a demonstration, and the shapes you choose are only limited by your imagination. When you are making your shapes, whether you are using cookie cutters like we did or something else, the only thing to keep in mind is to be sure your shapes fit through the neck of the jar or container that you plan on using. To start off, wrap your pipe cleaner around the shape of your cookie cutter. What's nice about this experiment is the process is nearly identical to making sugar rock candy, only you are substituting borax for crystals, and the amount of borax you're using is a little bit different. And a quick side note, if you're making these two projects together, be sure and keep them separated, because while one of them is extremely delicious if you eat it, not bad. The other one, specifically the borax crystals, will make you sick if you eat those, so keep them separated. Start filling up your jars or containers of water, keeping track of how many cups you are using, because for every cup of water you're going to dissolve 3 tablespoons of borax in it. And while that is heating up, you can use this time to prepare your ornaments for suspension in the solution. And you can use the exact same method you did with the sugar rock candy. Here we're suspending them by string, hanging them on other pipe cleaners. But again, you can use a chopstick, a fork, a pencil, anything will work as long as it's not touching the bottom or the sides of the jar. You can either dump your borax into the water while it is boiling like we did in the sugar rock candy segment, or you can pour out your water and mix the borax individually, which we did this time. Be sure and stir until all the borax is completely dissolved. After you suspend your ornament into the solution, your borax and sugar solutions should look something like this. And now it's just a waiting game. If your jars are big enough, you could probably do multiple rock candies or multiple ornaments in one jar, but it certainly helps to have a lot of jars and go one at a time. It definitely makes it a lot easier. Now it's time to look at the results, but if you are new to our channel, you may not remember we did a fairly similar demonstration last year at Christmas time making a sugar glass Christmas structure. I say Christmas structure because I was hoping it would look more like a winter cabin when it ultimately turned out to look more like a sugar glass dilapidated barn. But the science was sound and we had a lot of fun, so definitely be sure and check out that video, especially if you're more artsy inclined, because it does involve a little bit more of a challenge. It is a lot of fun, and I'll leave a link in the description above and down below in the description if you're interested. Let's talk now about results, and for a time perspective, some of these sugary glass crystals have been sitting for about 6 days, while some of the borax and sugar rock candy my kids have made have been sitting for 3. So let's take a look. The first thing you'll notice is the top of the solutions have hardened, so this is a tricky part. Take a knife and while supporting your rock candy, gently tap the top of your solution to break up the crystallized sugar. It should easily break, and then you can take out your rock candy. Here you'll see the importance of not letting the sugar rock candy touch the side or bottom, because 2 of ours did, and then when you try and take them out, they often break.
Okay, I have one that
Oh no. It's not the end of the world, however, because they are still delicious. The Christmas ornaments, thankfully, are much easier to take out. There is no crystallized layer of borax on the top, so you can just pull the ornaments out of the solution. Let them dry on a towel, and in no time they will be ready for that prime time spot on your Christmas tree. So let's talk science and what is actually going on here. The rock candy is actually made by making what is called a supersaturated solution. And to understand what that is, first we need to know what the difference between a mixture and a solution is. For example, in my son's bedroom, you will always find a messy mixture of Legos in a box. It is a mixture because by definition, a mixture is the result of combining 2 substances together. A solution, however, is a mixture of 2 or more substances in which one substance is dissolved into another. A super common sample of a solution is the water that you find in the ocean. Ocean water, of course, is a solution of salt dissolved in water to form the seawater. So as you can see by these definitions, a solution is always a mixture, but a mixture is not necessarily a solution. Going back to my son's examples of Legos, none of these Legos are dissolved and they're easily separated, and that's what makes it a mixture and not a solution. And so now that we know the difference between a mixture and a solution, let's break down solution into 3 more types. You have an unsaturated solution, a saturated solution, and in the case of the experiment that we did today, a supersaturated solution. And those are pretty easy terms to understand as long as we know what a solvent and a solute are. So let's talk about these next. Every solution has a solvent and a solute. In a solution, a solute is the substance that is being dissolved, and the solvent is the substance that is dissolving the solute. So in the case of ocean water, water is the solvent and salt is the solute. Think about the demonstration we did today using sugar and water. What do you think the solute is, and what do you think the solvent is? And if you're really up for a challenge, go to our website and download the free worksheet that goes along with this video, and you can definitely test your knowledge. So to bring it all home, we know what mixtures are, we know what solutions are, we know the difference between the 2, we know what solvents are, we know what solutes are. Now let's go back and talk about unsaturated solutions, saturated solutions, and the king player today, the supersaturated solution. Starting off with an unsaturated solution. This type of solution is a solution capable of dissolving more solute. So take for example this jar of water. As I add sugar to the water, disregarding all the sugar I spilt on the table, this is an example of an unsaturated solution because the water is capable of dissolving more sugar. As I continue adding more sugar, at some point the water molecules are not going to be able to dissolve anymore, and that is when it becomes saturated. No matter how long I stir, any additional sugar molecules are just going to fall to the bottom and settle, and they will not dissolve. However, there are some things we can do to change that. And one of those ways is by adding heat. That is the only reason we boiled the water in these demonstrations. By increasing the temperature of the solution, you increase its solubility, and that allows more of your solute to be dissolved. And that is exactly what a supersaturated solution is. A supersaturated solution is a solution that contains a greater amount of solute than its saturated form. And that is why when the solution is taken off the heat and begins to cool, all that excess solute, or in this case the sugar that was dissolved, starts to recrystallize as its solubility decreases when the temperature goes down. And as the sugar or borax comes out of the solution, it recrystallizes to either form the delicious sugar candy that we've made or really cool Christmas ornaments that you can hang up on your Christmas tree and impress all your friends and neighbors with. So that's it for the video this week. As always, I hope you enjoy it. And specifically, if you're a homeschooling family, there's a worksheet that goes along with the video that you can give your kids if you want to do the demonstration or just have them watch the video. With Christmas and holidays and the end of the year, it's always a busy time for everybody, ourselves included. This may be our last video of the year. And if it is, I hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next time.